Good morning. How are we all today?
Doing good.
Testing, testing, bananas and cheese. You can all hear me?
Morning.
Gotcha. Good morning, people.
Good
Good morning.
Good morning. So to start off with the Australian Hypnosis Conference, we thought we'd go with a little bit of a breakfast chinwag today. And we're just going to have a bit of a yarn just about a random topic, what they don't teach you in school. So let me get you started. Okay. So a pointer from me, what they don't teach you in school is that you will get clients that want to fail. Why do you think they don't teach that? Like Terry, tell me about some of your clients that are just like, no, you want to fail. Tell me.
Absolutely. It's like they want to stay drunk and they want to stay addicted. And really, there's that part of their brain that's going, I don't want to change. And I don't want to learn either.
Oh,
And they don't teach you how to learn either, do they, Trish? Like, they
no.
don't tell you about visual, audible, and kinesthetic.
Yeah. So, Stuart, and I'm sure you would agree with me on this one, that there are therapists out there and they get on social, they get on their platforms and all that sort of stuff. And it's as if they never, ever, ever have a client that failed.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm the first one to put my hand up and say I love clients failing.
Yeah.
It really is good because that way it kind of takes a lot of the pressure off you as a practitioner. But as Terry was just saying, you expect them to fail. So, and look, I've done it so many times. People come in to prove that you are no good. They don't want the results, so therefore they can say to people, "Hey, look, I've tried everything. Leave me alone." So don't be surprised. You're going to get them out there. I've had so many that have tested. You'll pick it up. And I've done that half a dozen times. I'll send people out and go, "Look, you're only here to prove it's going to fail, so you may as well pay me and go." Make sure you get the money.
Yeah, get the money first. Get the money first. Because John can vouch for this because he sees a lot of my front end with the clients and emails and stuff like that. So, John, when it comes to you, like you get people that actually, like, they just want tech support as such, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, like in different roles that I've had for sales and retail and things like that, people will try and you get you to do things that are probably beyond the scope of what you're there to help with. So, yeah, for sure.
What
People
about
want a
you, Sima?
technician.
What's a point that they don't teach you in school about business and clients?
That you can refuse a client.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's why I do a free consult. Like it's more for protection of me rather than taking on the client. So what are your pointers about that?
Yes, normally it's more clients that the same as the question before. They come, they are not willing to do the work they have to do, and they expect you to give a little magic pill that help them to solve the problem, and all the responsibility comes to you instead of being on them. And then is having that kind of questions that are clarify to you as a hypnotherapist when the client's ready or not. So steps and process that can help you to say, look, if you are here to make myself a stats number for you, that is, you tried everything, I'm not there for you. I'm here to help you to get results. But without saying that, right? So you say, thank you very much. I can send you to another friend. Sometimes clients come to you and first, second session, and they start guessing this. And then when we have to stop that consultation or the series of sessions and send the client away. And normally what I see is people so afraid of being rejected as a therapist by the client. And then they're afraid also that they need to help everyone, because also accept anyone because they don't have money and then they need to make some money.
Yeah. I must admit, I as you all know, I'm a shithead. It's as simple as that. I am a straight down the line. Everybody's nodding.
Laugh, John. That was bad, John.
I'm a good Sarah, so
And I'm a straight down the line therapist. I'm not a very fluffy therapist because I've been to fluffy therapists and they just don't work for me. And one of my comebacks is that when a client says to me, I've tried everything, I always say, have you tried succeeding? And automatically they get, it's like they get this take back. Like, so I'm like, have you tried succeeding? Keep going until you get there. And they're just like, you're not allowed to say that. And it's like, watch me. I'm private practice. Like,
I learned, Trish, always start with the answer.
yes, always start with the
Don't
answer.
succeed is the answer.
Yeah. So, Karen, what's been some of your blocks that they didn't teach you when you learnt all this? What have you learnt along the way?
When you were talking about the clients, I actually basically give my clients a task before I even start with them.
A leverage
if they don't
task.
complete the task, they're not ready. So that's, a big thing is making sure they're ready before I actually take them on. Because what's the point if they do not want to succeed? They don't want to start with the answer. They don't know what their vision is. Then at least you can say, see you later. No problem. Go find someone else. But, from school, the biggest thing is basically, start with the answer. Like, we, as hypnotherapists, we want them to have a vision of what they want out of their life and where they want to go. And when we get them clear on that vision, that's when they can actually take the steps towards it. So I love that. That was an accounting thing I learned, always start with the answer. But it comes true in hypnosis and that as well too, and very much in anything that we do with therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan, what's one of your worst clients, babe? Because surely, we're all Australians here. You're from the USA. What's your worst one? Oh, hang on.
You're from the States. You clearly have all these failures coming at you because you guys are just failures to begin with. Worst clients for me.
Underdogs.
We have something here in the States. I don't know if you call it as the secondary gain. Those are the worst clients. It's the somebody else sent them. And I don't even take those guys anymore. It's like, well, my wife wants to stop talking.
Yep.
Come back and see me when you want to. I don't do free consultations anymore. It's $50 to walk through the door on a consultation. Because if you're willing to give me $50, you're willing to sit down and be a little bit more invested in the work.
Yeah, good point.
I don't waste my time with those guys. If you're not willing to give me $50, you clearly just came here to say, I went over and talked to the guy. He said he couldn't help me. So
good point. Good point.
Yeah, that's our worst. Our worst clients here are the secondary gains. But the funniest client I ever had was the first client I ever had, which was a joke from one of my instructors. I told this to Trish. It was a elderly female, had never had an orgasm. Sent them to me. And she comes in, we talked and and then he calls me, he's like, did you get your client? Like,
and you're like, I can't say it's
right, Frank. But then I called him back a little while later and said, oh, by the way, we succeeded. So
we succeeded.
I didn't help her other than the hypnotherapy.
Yeah. There was extra charge. Right, it was more than $50. Okay.
So yes, Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
What's your worst client? Because you deal with some real high-ranking people, and they'd have different blocks that what people like I'm dealing with. So, what was your worst client?
It's a classic, jumps to mind. Highly analytical. He was a referral from top quality AFL player, and he's rocked up. Highly analytical, Defence Forces, change strategist, you name it. He's got every possible degree, and he's rocked up and he said, "Right, you want to know all about my past?" And gave me his CV. It was about that thick documents. He goes, "Right, here's my past," and I just turned around, went bang straight in the rubbish bin. I said, "Right, that's who you were. Who do you want to be?"
Nice, good comeback.
And this guy has stayed with me probably for about 10 years now. I've been working with his kids who are into motor racing now. I've worked with friends, relatives. He's been the ultimate referral person, because I won't say he's my worst one, but it's the one that was most challenging. He was just there. So look, to be honest, I don't know if there's a worse one. And I think the same story as the first client for me was just mind-blowing, the results that I've got. So much so I just got, it can't be real. It's got to be fake. It's got to be a setup. And it was actually a referral from my mum, who was my hypnotherapist years ago. And she said, the
mum test.
Yeah, Gillian knows my mum really well. So, yeah, for me, it was very much, I thought this was a test. I'm kind of going along with it and going, this is too weird. Surely I don't have this amount of power. But, yeah, it was real. It was hilarious. And you're still going to find those. As a practitioner, I think every one of your clients, you've got to be ready for them to do something stupid.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I must admit, I don't have any family. My family are deceased and they died when I was quite young. But I have had a lot of weird requests, like I admit. Like one, I think like my third client that ever inquired, he rocked up to the doorstep with a tin hat, like a tinfoil hat, and asked me if I could help him transition to the fourth dimension. And I was like,
come on in. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, they do not teach you this in school. And this is where I kind of came up with the topic many years ago. It's like, I'd like to have a discussion about this, like what they don't teach you in school and what's going to come to your door, sort of thing. So, Gillian, unmute yourself, darling. Tell us about some of your, what they don't teach you in school that you learnt along this journey.
Oh dear, I'd love to put my oar in about my first client, because
yeah,
I'm a bit like Stuart, but mine was a little bit more extreme. It was also a recommendation. I love people who give you recommendations, and this person actually really valued me. And my first paying client was a client that needed also to transition, but out
not
of
to the fourth dimension, though.
No, they were a end stage palliative care chemo cancer patient, and their family lived up in the north, and he was having palliative care in Brisbane, and it was draining the family's resources like you wouldn't believe. So there wouldn't be anything left, and he was worried about not transitioning because he was worried about his family and how they were going to cope, but not realizing by hanging on that he was actually causing even more challenges. Yeah. And so she recommended me. He came down from Brisbane with his family, with his drip and, you know, with his morphine drip, and on a bed, came to it. And we just talked through about transitioning, and he was actually not conscious.
He'd already started to transition unconsciously.
Yeah, and I was just like, how I'm going to deal with this. And I also have this really sensitive nose, and I can smell death. It's just one of those things. There's all these gases that come out of your body that at end of life you can smell it. And I'm trying to dampen down my senses and have this connection. And that was my first paying client. Oh, goodness. But he transitioned 4 hours after he got back to Brisbane. So, hey, tick that box.
Yeah, just to expand out on that, you know, for those who do watch the replay and listen, I had a girlfriend actually ask me to go visit her mum in hospital, and there was that smell, and it was the first time I had come across it. And she was the children were just adamant that mum was coming home. And as soon as I walked in the room, I didn't know the mother, but I knew the children, and the mother was 86 years old. And as soon as I walked in the room, my first question was, what do you want? Where do you want to go from here? Because nobody's asking that, you know. And she's like, I just want to take the long sleep. And I said, well, let's have a chat. What messages do you want me to give your children? When do you want me to give them to them? And she literally passed away, I think it was about 12 hours after that. It was as if someone gave her permission. Like, and it's a really difficult line to navigate when you're going into those situations. So yeah, I can completely relate to what you went through, Gillian.
I can relate to it as well, because I actually had a call from someone to go to another hypnotherapist, and she was a, you know, probably middle-aged woman like myself, and she had quite a, you know, big body and everything else. And I'd been working with her 6 months prior, and I went to her in hospital, and she was just a different person. She was skin and bone. And basically she said, oh, you know, she never wanted to mention the C word. She never wanted to admit what was going on because of, you know, how we've been trained to speak, you know, positively, et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, I said, look, do you want me to do some work with you? And she said, yes, look, please. But she was in such a state because she had kids and she was so unrested. And I think, you know, you're talking about the transition. I can really understand that. And, you know, I don't do death very well, like with other people dying and everything, but I sat with her and I went through the, you know, the whole hypnosis and everything else. And she was really anxious. Like, that's how it was. You know, she was just in such a state. Her best friend walked in and come to the end of the session, and she was just blissed out, completely blissed out. Now, she was so blissed out and so at peace that her family also thought she was going home to start living again. Yeah. And she transitioned within 24 hours, but she sort of went out a lot more peacefully. And I think that really helped the family.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, our work is so multi-leveled and multi-tiered. Like, I remember when I left school, like, you know, in my first lot of training, like, they were like, you can help people quit smoking and lose weight. And I was going out, ho gum, to save the world. And then the world smacked me in the face and went, down, Trish. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you know, so, like, you know, just to expand out on that a bit, like, I was also taught, and this may be like one of those, maybe you got the wrong message, Trish. I was also taught that your client always have to leave in a positive state. Now, I know John has clients that don't live in positive states, you know, because he's like, I can't help you, go away. Like, but what about you guys? Like, Sima, like, did you ever had a client where you've just gone, you know what? I don't care if you're in a shit of a mood. Bugger off, come back next week. Like, have you ever had a client like that?
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's going through the whole session is for them realize that what they have been doing. And this realization that they comes, especially the first session when we do all their values and everything, they say, oh my goodness, I have been pretending to be someone.
Yeah.
And they feel like, and they go away, like as first session that I give them the confrontation, and they have to look themselves in the eyes and say, hey.
Like the mirror therapy.
Yes, that's right. And so when they leave, they're completely in shock. When they come back, it's like, what can I do to change this? So yeah, that's the way it worked at first. As I believe, I forgot her name here, Karen said, she gives a task for them before they come. I do the same because my protocol is long. If they want to see me, they need to show me that they are ready to come. But even though some people can just fill in and come in, but the first session is always a confrontation and to know where they are at and where they want to be.
And that's another thing they don't teach in school either. Like, one thing I was promoted was one session, get rid of anxiety. One session, get rid of depression. And that was really drummed into me in my training. And then when I kind of deciphered it, like, to come to me for big anxiety, depression, like really big stuff, we're doing whole life projects here. So it may be 10, I've even had clients come to me every month for a couple of years just to keep getting topped up with their motivation and stuff like that. So Karen, what's your take on that sort of stuff? Because I've seen those therapists out there, you can beat anxiety in one session. I'm like, well, yeah, well, so can I, but it'll fucking come back. Like, you know, I can't say that because I'm an asshole. Like, Karen, what's your take on that?
I mean, basically, it's like peeling away a layer of onion. No matter what you're working with someone, you've got to look at the different aspects, and everything comes into in at once. Like, it's not, if they're suffering from anxiety, it's not just one thing. It could be every area of their life. So you've got to basically peel away the layers, find out what's going on for them, and very rarely are you going to fix someone in one session. If they come in to be fixed first off, they're wrong anyway, because no one's broken. You just need to actually look at the problem and find out what's going on for them. But yeah, you got to take each person individually. There's no way you can say that you can fix anxiety or work with anxiety in one session, or even quit smoking. One person may be able to do it in one session. Some person may need 5 sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I quit smoking several times in my life. Took it back up again. So everyone's going to face the different aspects of what's going on.
I quit chocolate on a daily basis, darling. It's like a goal now. Got to do it today and again tomorrow. Like, yeah. Stuart, what's your take on that sort of teaching style?
Good, we're back on now. Sorry, I was just on mute. Yeah, it's interesting. There's so much they don't teach you. It's like you do your courses and then all of a sudden you step out and you go, hang on, you expected to learn about business, savings, marketing, strategies, the whole lot. And I find that is social media. I guess my success within the hypnosis field is probably because I've come from a sales background. I've come from a national product manager role, so I understand that. And I think to some extent we have to get out of our heads as being a practitioner and start being business people, start being entrepreneurs, CEOs of a corporation, as a company, and start building up strategies, systems, funnels, timelines, and really start nutting it out. Define exactly what your market is. I mean, for me, it's elite athletes, but it's amazing when you really narrow down elite athletes and you charge a lot for it. What happens is you start getting all the bigger picture anyway. You start getting their referrals and their referrals and their referrals, as I said before. But I think one of the things we've got to do is start thinking business people rather than practitioners.
And doing what's right for us, like what resonates with us. So some of us resonate with Facebook, some of us resonate with Instagram, some of us resonate with going to the professionals, going to doctors, getting doctors on board. And I think we're all like, so many people, especially when it comes to social, they're like, oh, we've got to compete. There's like this unconscious message of competition rather than working together.
Yeah, and I think it should be a more collaborative approach. The whole industry and profession. I mean, Gillian and myself work well together. We'll send people backwards and forwards. And I think, to be honest, we've got to start looking at that and go, look, if you're looking at elite athletes, send them my way. If you want anxiety or smokers or people pre or post operative or medical, mate, I'm happy to send them your way. But start this interaction. What's your specialist? Performance, because when you're a specialist as well, people expect you to pay specialist prices.
Absolutely.
You can triple your prices by sending more people away.
Absolutely.
Can I jump in? I believe it's still the big fear of people missing their clients or losing their clients to someone else. So is the power of saying, no, I don't want to work with you, or I cannot work with you. So for me as well, I'm very niched. I work with high skilled professionals or migrants that come to the country. And I just see migrants, and when they want to reconnect with their career, with that transition into a new career, and behind that comes lots of issues that we can work together. But I just see them, nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dan, talking from the USA perspective, because it does make me very, very curious. Do you get a lot of people that, and this is going to be like really random, okay, guys? Do you get a lot of people inquiring about they're being possessed by aliens or anything like that? Because it's not a thing in Australia. Like, it's really not. Like doppelgangers.
It's not a thing
and stuff
here.
like that. It's not a thing. So that must be the media to us then.
Yeah, I think so. I work with first responders, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, doctors, or I should say, but Stuart was just talking about that. This is the first year that we incorporated. I closed the one main office and opened the guild, as we know. So we incorporated and expanded. And I'm actually moving away from seeing clients. I have 2 interns that are taking over the client load so that I can concentrate on the other things. One of the things that happens here in the States, and you and I have talked about this, Trish, that drives us nuts, is
we've had a lot of in-depth conversations.
It's not always, and I guess I'm going off topic, but this just popped into my head. What they teach you in school here in the States and in some of the other places is not to be a therapist, but to become a customer of their pro group. You know, it's like, hey, you know, we got you that now you need this certificate. Now you need
And
that
do a
certificate.
master class or a VIP.
Yeah, master class. And now you're going to be in this training and that training. And they just keep piling on these certificates. So, and I think that's one of the things they do. That happened to me from the Michigan Institute. They were like, nope, you don't need to do anything. Bring your clients in, play our CDs, belong to our pro group. You'll be successful. And I'm like, then why did I pay you $1,600 to teach me to be a clinical hypnotherapist if all I had to do was buy your CDs? And that's what they wanted me to do, was continuously buy their products.
Yep.
So I think that's a bad thing.
And this recently happened to one of my mentorees, actually, and I did get a little bit cross with her, and I said, you should fucking talk to me first. So what happened was she wants to release a book, and she did their basic course, whatever amount of dollars it was. And then to do the masterclass, it was $25,000. So she handed over the money. I know, Jillian, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to shit bricks. Like, what the fuck? I'll do it for $10,000 and I'll smile as well. Like,
Wow.
you know, and she spent $25,000. And then when she turned up to the first masterclass, they turned to her and they literally said, you will probably not sell any books for at least 10 years. And I'd be like, you know what? Take your money, buy a house, invest it in Airbnb, and stop with this shit. Like, I've got my modern mentoring, and I absolutely refuse to have a masterclass. Like, gut-directed hypnosis, you just learn it. Heal the inner child, you just learn it. There is no masterclass to the Heal the Inner Child or the VIP section. Like, oh, now you can learn the exclusive advanced gut-directed hypnosis. Either fucking give it to me or don't. Like, simple as that.
I think people tend to think that you need to learn more, so they play on that.
They get in that loop.
So you'll never know enough. So you're going to keep on coming back, keep coming back, so that you learn more, so that you'll get better. Because everyone has those fears that they don't know enough, and I think all the industries play on that. And
the reality is, do we know enough? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what all the buttons on my phone do. But do I need to?
You can bluff your way through.
Yeah, I do. And this is what I say to John, and John can vouch for this. So John has taught me how to program web pages and Photoshop and all this sort of stuff. And he'll go, babe, you can do that. I'm like, no, I'm not at that bridge yet of going, how do I do that? I'm at this bridge. So let's just learn this. And he goes, yeah, but. And I'm like, no, shh.
I know you hate it when I go, oh, well, actually, you can do this in several different ways. Just one way. No, you can do it in like 3 different ways.
And I'm like, I just need one way to do it. Just one. I don't need to know the 10 other ways. Just one.
Outsource it to John. Don't learn it. Just outsource it to him.
Jillian.
So Stuart and I were trained by the same person, and I remember 3 sessions. 3 sessions was all you needed. 3 sessions, that was it. And I completed mine in 1996.
I wasn't even out of school then.
So, and we were taught nothing about business at all. And there was no such thing as social media at that time. Internet had only just really started to get interesting. And
no smartphones. You were just still playing Snake on the Nokia.
Correct.
Yeah, me too.
And so you went into you had a room, you had 2 chairs, you had your hypnosis chair, and you dressed in a particular way. This is all that we got about setting up for your business. And you drop flyers, whatever. Yep. I never dropped flyers. Because I couldn't do it. And also I'm in Queensland, and hypnosis was not a thing that was recognised or legal at the time. It took a long time for our association to make it so. So
were you working like the divination people behind the closed doors? Like...
so there was all this process around sitting down with your client and going through it. I never used scripts. He never used scripts. You have to work it out for yourself how to have that conversation, but here are the tools, which was wonderful, because it really was functional for a long period of time. But I'd actually got stuck in that 3-session thing. And I would put myself under pressure to make sure that it was done in 3 sessions. And also, I'm one of these people who is a trigger person. So I set people off all the time. So I get down to the dirty.
You never.
Get down to the dirty. And I want my client to be uncomfortable when they leave.
Yeah,
I don't
do
want them
that.
to be comfortable. I want them to be uncomfortable, because if they're comfortable, they've gone back into their comfort zone. So they're not actually looking at the world differently. So for me, and also some of my other training, my training actually evolved into full body anchoring while someone was standing for an hour and a half. Now, I was never taught that. Like they wouldn't even know they were standing for an hour and a half, but going through that postural change and timeline and projections and all that was all standing. So for me, I had to develop my own way with the things that I learned, but I never learned any more other than my master hypnosis. That was it. I added NLP to it. I added some other stuff to it, but I never actually progressed any further than that. So yeah, I was probably lucky that my teacher actually didn't offer any of the other stuff. He also disliked Tad James's process as well. So that was a benefit to us because he wouldn't get into that formula.
I must admit, I've never done Tad James' process or anything like that, but I have heard it's just salesy, next thing. And I'm just not into that. As soon as I'm a stiffler for training and like good training. And that's why when I do certain trainings, like I literally see the teacher going, oh, Trish is in this class. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I'm like Gillian, I'm a trigger person. I just, you know, black and white. I don't bugger around too much with the grey area. And yeah, and like when they say, oh, well, you can learn this for pain management or you can go into the masterclass. I'm like, well, why can't you just teach it in the pain management? Like if it's to do with pain management, you should just teach it in the pain management. Like, you know, so yeah, I completely get where you're coming from and getting stuck in those loops. Like you have to do it in the 3 sessions and things like that as well. So yeah.
Can I jump in again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the fact that they call the same thing different names to attract you to do the course.
Doesn't that give you the shits? Like seriously, like you can call it Fluffy Woo Roo's McGeegee, but it doesn't change the concept. They're like, oh, you can do this one now. And I'm like, it's the same thing. Like it's just another swish pattern. Like, yeah, I get that as well. Like, you know, like so yeah, and I'm not gonna grind on about that one too much, sort of thing. So Stuart, when it comes to your clients, like because Stuart clients are very different to what say Terry and Karen and I do. So Stuart, when it comes to your clients, is there like ongoing maintenance and stuff like that as well? Because I was taught, no, you don't need maintenance. Once your anxiety's gone, it's gone. It's like,
yeah, it's interesting. And look, I appreciate everyone's got their own little niche market. I think you can really take it to the next level. I used to share an office with a business coach. And what was fascinating is she had clients come in as business coaching and charging $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And they would sit there and once a week go through stuff for their business. If she got to a blockage, she would then send them through to me. She'd pay personally. I'd release the blockage, send them back to them, and she'd sit there with them for another 2 years. I'm going, hang on, you're charging $3,500 or $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and I've got to do the work for you to do that. So who do we think we are to be charging $100, $200, $300 per session when we can be charging $3,000 a month? So think about that as a different perception, a different way of paying and approaching your client base, because who are you in business if your health, your happiness and love isn't fixed? So we, in theory, should be charging a lot more. And on saying that, I'm also looking at Gillian and Trish and John, you know my programs. Basically, I've got bronze, silver and gold programs. So there's a good implied suggestion. What do you want in life? Bronze, silver or gold? You choose.
Yeah.
Like for the elite athletes and world champions that I've got, they just go, oh, okay, what do I want? Right, I want the best. So if you want that, yeah, sure, you can get results in 3 to 4 sessions, but it's fine tuning. Every time they come up to state, national titles, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, world champs, all these people want that extra bit of a boost. I work with a lot of motor races within Australia, and every time before Bathurst or every time before a championship event, it's just that fine tuning because they understand the investment in their sport, the outcomes, and it's worth it to be in that performance state.
Absolutely. I think one of the blocks that John has when he's dealing with some of my clients or, you know, some of our students is the language they use. And like John will say, like, what was the one the other day, babe? It was something like, I have done all of this and it's still not working because like the RISE system wasn't working or something like that. And it's like, you haven't charged the battery pack, right?
Yeah, you obviously haven't done everything. I know it's a defeatist attitude. Like, yeah, you have to be open-minded to say, okay, well, let's start from scratch. Let's go through it, and you know, it's troubleshooting, I guess. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Isn't the answer, John, just turn it on and off?
Turn your computer on and off. Yeah, well, hey, look, it's surprising how often that actually works. And while it's rerouting, you can at least think about the next step. But yeah.
Trish.
Yeah.
So about 6 years ago, I rebranded myself and stopped calling myself a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I just went, no, I'm over fixing people. They're not taking enough responsibility for their journey themselves.
Yeah.
And it was me. I actually needed to change how I actually turned up. Mm-hmm. So I started to teach people tools. Then I'd coach them in their tools, and then they'd go and apply them. And then I'd train them in their tools, and then I'd coach them with their results. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, it stopped me thinking that I had to fix the situation. But not only that, it gave me the space to evolve how I worked with my clients as well. So in being a coach, you're actually giving them the tools, a bit like what you guys were talking about. You know, when you're training, you train with the tools, then you have to go and apply them, right? Then you need someone there to go, yeah, you know, chat back and forward. That worked, that didn't work, what can I do? And that's what associations normally do, is you have these lovely conversations. You know, I totally messed this up, but in actual fact, when you have a conversation with someone else, you see where the results are. And then you tweak it, you know, you go out and you tweak it again, and then you come back and have another conversation. And in having that total change in my own label, it invited other people to come in, and I could actually charge differently. Mm-hmm. Also with a bit of coaching from Stuart. I love colleagues. Colleagues are really good to put you in your place and elevate you at the same time. So
sometimes you need a slap in the face of the fish. You really do.
Wet fish. Stuart's the wet fish.
Like, I must admit, like when sometimes I use the metaphor of team sports when I'm working with my clients. So when we're in that first session, I'm like, look, this is a team sport. I am your coach. You are the player of the game, and we can play by the rules and we can win the grand final, or you can just go play your own little sport, kick the ball in the corner, and we'll just see how you go. Which would you prefer? We either work together or you go and work separately on your own. And it's amazing how many times I'll kind of go, oh yeah, this is a team sport. You're not against me. You're here to challenge me. Like, you're here to help me to achieve things. Like, you know, so that's where people can get a bit stuck as such. Like, they think, you know, and I think it was Simon Sinek turned around and he was talking about life coaches a little while back. And he said, remove the word therapy or therapist, because people go into that mindset that I need therapy. It's like, you don't need therapy. You just need better resources. That's what you need. Like, with the resources that you've got right now, you put into place at a stage in your life because you thought they would help you. Now, fast forward 10 years, those resources aren't helping you anymore. So we need to change something. So, yeah.
And you know something else, Trish,
Yes,
on that is that I have found that when people are coming to see you, and I was also taught about the 3 sessions and I was doing that as well, but because people would start to feel better, it would almost be like they would get worse again. And they, like, for example, right, I just had a lady. Now, she's supposed to be aiming high. She's supposed to be, you know, looking towards becoming a coach herself. And yet she sat there talking about how she's stuck in a pattern, just looping and looping and looping and looping and looping. And I just thought, my gosh, I think she actually enjoys this. They become sadists or masochists, even worse. And it's like they're self-sabotaging themselves. And sometimes they don't even, it's not like they're deliberately doing it, but if they sense that things are coming to an end, they almost, like, the unconscious mind goes, hang on a minute, let's do a backflip here. And fall back into that old pattern and say that I can't get out of it.
I did have a client once. She paid me $600 after the free consult to do quit smoking. So I was like, yep, you know, we'll get you started. And that was on the Friday, and she never showed up. And I thought, oh, okay, this is not right. So I rang her, no answer. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because I have had those clients that have had car accidents, you know, on the way to the thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Anyway, I rang her again on the Saturday and she didn't answer. She rang me on the Monday and she goes, stop calling me. And I'm like, okay. I said, I do apologize. I said, I was just a bit worried because we had an appointment on the Friday and you didn't show up. She goes, I just paid you the money so that my husband would get off my back about it. Okay. And
thank you very much.
Yeah, honestly, because I was like, oh, fuck, what do I do? Like, you know, like, because this was back, say,
take the money and run.
I fucking did. I had to do my policy. Like, any money's paid, stiff shit, it's mine, sort of thing, you know. But like, they don't teach you what to do with any of this stuff, or even share stories about what they did and things like that. And there are even some people out there where the money doesn't matter, or they just want to go through some form of a process and they get through the system somehow, as if they're kind of manipulative narcissists but don't know that they're narcissists or something. Like, yeah, they slip through somehow and you're like, where did I go wrong? And I don't believe that we have actually gone wrong anywhere. We were going with the information that we had. Would you guys agree with that?
Well, that person could also be $600 doesn't mean anything to them, but if it was $5,000, like if you've got someone who buys designer shoes and you offer them a session $100, they don't value it. But if you offer them a session $1,000, they're going to go, wow, this is going to be valuable. So I think that plays a big part in as well too, the person's values when you're actually talking to them.
Absolutely.
So I think you kind of have to base things on that as well.
Anyone who pays $25 a packet for cigarettes probably doesn't think $600 is much.
Yeah, well, back then they were a lot cheaper. So, but I must admit, I have been a bit of a shithead, and I'm not sure if Stuart or Gillian has done this, but I have had clients that have come in and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be one of those difficult clients to get through, but you can see their potential. And I've literally just turned around and say my normal price was, say, $500. And I've turned around and I said, yep, no worries, $2,000. And then they hand over the money and it's like,
shit.
Fuck, should have said $5. Yeah, should have said $5. Like, have you ever had those clients where they just hand over the money and you're just like, wow, this is going to be difficult, but I can get through. Have you had those ones?
Yeah, I'll just jump in there if that's all right. I had one recently. I'm working with a professional poker player, and they've had brilliant results, and they're overseas and won a tournament, and the next thing there's $3,000 sitting in my bank, and I went, what's this for? He said, had a big win, couldn't have done it without you.
Nice.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And then this is the great thing. It's, if you look at like for example, the athletes I work with, you look at a lot of athlete coaches, that they're there every day. So why can't we be there every day? We phone them up, what's going on, how'd you go, text messages backwards and forwards. And all of a sudden you end up with this. And change the way that you invoice as well. Gillian knows me, I've got professional golfers. I've got them on a percentage of winning an appearance. So if you look, they might not be able to afford you now, but when they're earning the $3 to $5 million a tournament, they can afford you. They may not be able to do it here. So work with them until they get to this point. If you believe in them, you believe in yourself, you're going to get the results. So it's an investment, it's marketing. So you could be earning quite easily $500,000 a year and doing 3 or 4 clients.
Yeah, I love that strategy. Absolutely love that.
I for 1 year, this was a real test of me, test on me and my value. I did pay what you feel.
Oh,
So
I've never done that.
pay from the heart.
Mhm.
So, and for a whole year over everything, everything that I did. Oh
Whoa.
my God. The things that I learned about people was astounding. The people with less paid more. The people with more paid less. The people who, it didn't matter about the results because they valued someone with more information that could help them.
Mhm.
The people with less, because they wanted more. The people with more didn't really value what they had. They paid less. There was people who were the hardest people, and I knew they were a bit like yours. You know, they're going to be really hard work, done in a session, big. They paid big, done in a session, and they would pay after the session, not before the session. So it was what they valued from the session. It was amazing. It was scary,
Eye-opener.
but amazing at the same time.
Because John does that, and it's something that he taught me when I first met him, was contributing to the artist. And that's what John calls it. Like, you know, because he loves tech. People release games and free stuff all the time. And he's like, no, I want to give these people some money to motivate them to keep going because I think this is a great game. And John, is that what you call it, babe? Contributing to the artist?
For sure, for sure. So, you know, when you look at, I mean, I might have been talking about independently made video games, but anyway, the point is that there is, you know, there is a lot of, you know, big studios and things competing with independent developers and, you know, small games makers and whatever else. And a lot of the times, you know, like they, you know, it's easy to, especially with digital stuff, it's easy to, you know, piracy and things like that is a thing. And you know, by supporting artists in whatever they do, you know, the money goes directly to them. So when you and I were at PAX, you know, and then I have a chat to, you know, a couple of, you know, uni students that say, oh, we've been working on this game here, and you know, here's your little township, and you got your wizards here, and I'm like, this is really cool. And they're like, we do this in our spare time and whatever, and they're selling the game for like, you know, $9 or something. I'm like, you know, and he's like, in all honesty, you can go online, you can probably download it free, you know, through our forum and whatever. And I said, you know, that's fine. It's $9. You guys have put all this love and stuff into this. It's not a problem at all. So, you know, whereas, you know, what is it? The latest God of War or something? Sure, pay $100 to Sony. They'll put it on the stack, you know. Obviously a little bit more expensive to develop, but independent artists and stuff in all different fields, you know, absolutely support. Yeah.
So thank you everybody for joining us here today. So up next we do have Amanda Bernis, and she's talking about coping strategies for children. So thank you to all of you guys for popping in, and I will be emailing you in the future. Okay, so sending love and kisses. Mwah, mwah.
Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.